September 11, 2001. The former New York Governor, George Pataki, was in charge back then. He's my guest now here in studio, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
With regard to this incident, can we call it victory at this point?
No, not at all. I think it's more a question of lucky. The fact that the van started to smoke and we had a courageous individual who went out there and notified the police, and then we have a great police and fire department who reacted brilliantly. But we didn't know about it ahead of time, and I don't think you call it victory. I think victory would mean being able to prevent these before they get to the point where you have a loaded van in Times Square.
But what does New York need? Because yet again, this city was in the crosshairs.
Well, it's not just New York. Look at the last few months. We were very fortunate in Times Square. We didn't know about it ahead of time. The Christmas Eve bomber on the plane, we didn't know about it. We were very fortunate that an individual stepped up. And then we had the Fort Hood massacre, where we were not lucky. And we had the tragic murder of 13 of our brave soldiers. And look today. The administration's not allowing an investigation as to what we knew about Fort Hood ahead of time. They're still talking about having civilian trials for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the other September 11th mass murderers, and that's just wrong. They're still talking about closing Guantanamo when we know that many of those return to the battlefield. We need a stronger approach against terror, and in particular, we need to be supportive of our intelligence efforts and not hampering them.
Here's what I've heard already today. We need more cameras in New York City. They got to put them everywhere. Yeah. Is that what we need?
Bill,
because I'm still trying to figure out how we got this guy. Was it the VIN number on the car that was on the engine block? Was it a disposable cell phone camera that's been reported already? Did this guy pop up on a no-fly list? And at the last minute before that plane took off, is that when we got him? I'm trying to figure this out.
You know, but Bill, the point is that we didn't find him until after we had a potential catastrophe killing dozens of civilians in Times Square. Having cameras allowed us to see what happened or what almost happened, but it didn't prevent this. We need intelligence. We need to control our borders. We need to empower the CIA with the tools so that we can find out about these things ahead of time. This guy, apparently, we don't know for sure, trained for weeks in Pakistan, had gone back there to train, and yet we had no indication that here was someone who posed a grave risk to New Yorkers.
However they got to the end point, and if they got the guy, and perhaps there's no one else connected. Perhaps at that point, that's a bit doubtful, too. But that's why I call it victory, because within 48 hours, they got the guy.
Yes, that is a victory. Absolutely. Thank God we got him. Hopefully we will get intelligence from him that will allow us to get others who might be in this country or planning attacks overseas. But again, it's reactive. If it hadn't been for the fortunate occurrence of a brave individual in the NYPD and fire department taking extraordinary action, this would have gone off. And we shouldn't be reactive. We have to prevent this.
Go back to the fall, whether it was the Fort Hood shooting on Post in Texas, whether it was the Christmas Day body bomber in Detroit. Now we move to this point. Do you think the current administration and those in power in Washington have changed their approach going from that point in the fall to what we experienced on Saturday night?
Well, Bill,
have they learned?
I don't know that they've learned enough. At least they're finally using the word terrorism instead of man-caused incident, which made no sense at all. But I still don't see them understanding that we can't have civilian trials for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He is a mass-murdering war criminal. He should be tried in military tribunals and not in a civilian court. We have to support our CIA instead of investigating it, because we need to have better intelligence so we're not reacting to a car that almost explodes in Times Square. We're aware that someone has tracked Pakistan and come back to the United States.
And that's the
they haven't done that.
That is the timeline that is critical. A year ago, he gets citizenship. He gets that gold pass, which is the American passport. Goes to Pakistan for 5 months and then comes back. At what point is he planning and plotting, and who helped him?
Right. That's right. And hopefully now we'll be able to find that out after the fact, and that would be a good thing. But to prevent these incidents, as opposed to counting on a stroke of good fortune as we had in Times Square, we need to have intelligence so we can catch people like this before they have the chance to load up a truck with explosives and drive it to Times Square.
You lived through September 11th along with a lot of us, and it hit you very deeply and personally. Thank you for coming in today, Governor.
Thank you, Bill.
George Pataki with us in studio. More on this, okay? Here's Julia.